Robert Haley stars as Charlie McMahon in Life Like Dust.
I'm telling you, McMahon, I didn't plant that bomb. I'm innocent.
You got explosives training in the Army.
You don't need military training to build a car bomb.
With dynamite stolen from a construction site down the street from your job?
And there was powder residue in the trunk of your car.
It's a setup, all of it.
What do you think, Charlie?
I think we've got physical evidence, and he's got motive, opportunity, and no alibi.
I told you, I was at the car pound all night.
Then why didn't you punch your watch clock?
I did.
No, you didn't. We checked the time cards.
I punched in every half hour, clocks 1 through 5. By the book, okay?
But the clock said different.
I can't explain that.
Right.
You knew Gordy killed your wife.
He didn't kill Penny.
He confessed.
To the chief of police, who was in on it.
Why did you drag me down here to listen to this lame crap?
Keep talking, Terry.
Look, Penny stole the chief's badge, right? A stripper steal his badge during a private show at Station 41. If that story comes out, he looks real bad. Gordy was just a go-between.
Yeah, until he killed your wife.
I'm telling you, it wasn't him.
It was Chief Bartlett.
It was Tran.
Who?
Gordy came by looking for the badge. He was furious. We were going to give it back, but it got lost. He thought we were holding out. Said he was going to go to the chief. The next day, this guy Tran shows up.
Tell him about Tran.
Oriental, with a younger guy, Henry. They said the chief wanted his badge. Started roughing me up. Penny had a temper. And a gun.
Penny had a gun?
Well, for protection. I can't be around all the time, eh? So she pulled it on Tran and put it up to his head and backed them both out of the apartment.
Nothing those guys hate worse than losing face.
That's deep.
Oh, it's true. I was freaked. So I called Gordy.
So he knew this Tran guy?
Yeah, but he sounded surprised. Said he'd call him off, so I went to work. That night, Penny got her head smashed in.
By Tran, who was working for the chief. Nobody's gonna believe this, Kirk.
Maybe, but it will sure pull down some headlines. And we both know Tran exists.
You know him?
Full name, Tran New. Him and Gordy were pals. But him and the chief, I don't know. So explain how Klein pulled Tran New's name out of a hat.
He did some research. Found New's name in a story about Gordy's Big Circle Boys bust?
That, or this Asian wild card actually killed Gordy and Penny Klein.
On orders from the chief.
I know it's stupid, but I want you to follow it up.
I thought you said you can't use me anymore.
In the future. This case is ongoing. We're both involved, and I'm too close to the chief not to get splattered. So?
I'm not playing police politics anymore. For you or the chief.
Come on, Charlie.
Sorry. I did you a favor coming in for this, but I've got a clock shop to run. And you know what? I kind of like the peace and quiet.
Charlie?
Hi, Betty. I'm sorry. I know it's late, but I was just out walking and your lights were on.
What's the matter, Charlie?
I've got trouble.
You want to talk?
Yes.
Come in, then. I'll put on some tea. Milk and sugar?
No, this is fine, thanks.
Now, what is the problem, Charlie?
It's just that a couple of weeks ago, I helped Kirk McPhee with a case. A car bombing involving a police officer.
I remember. A nasty business.
It was. A revenge killing. The dead officer had murdered a stripper. Anyway, this afternoon, Kirk asked me to meet with the guy we arrested, Terry Klein. Terry claimed he's innocent and told me a few things about the case to try and prove it. Kirk wants me to check the guy's story out.
And this troubles your conscience?
Oh, no, it's not that. Every time he's in a tight spot, Kirk comes to me. But after our last case, he said he wouldn't use me anymore, that I was becoming a political liability. Now he's back. And I'm tired of being manipulated.
Then you just turn him down, Charlie.
I did, but talking to Terry got me thinking. I was at the crime scene where this woman was murdered, and the evidence suggested that the killer was left-handed.
Yes?
Gordy Newman wasn't left-handed. It's not much, but if Gordy gone to trial, that would have come out. It would have had to be explained. Now, when your prime suspect dies, case closed.
In the paper, it said this Mr. Newman confessed to the crime.
We only have the chief's word on that. If Terry Klein is telling the truth, if he's innocent and I help convict him...
Well, somebody has to look into it.
Oh, yes, but does that somebody have to be me? Doing these investigations for Kirk, it makes me feel like... It makes me feel like a young man again, back on the job, but I'm not a young man. I'm not really a cop anymore, and I am being used. I want to investigate, but I don't trust my motives.
You are a good man, Charlie.
Well, I try to be, but...
No, you are a good man. Trust yourself. You'll do the right thing.
Thanks, Betty. It's funny, eh?
What?
Us sitting here drinking tea in the middle of the night. Feels good.
It does. Are you hungry? I've got date squares I made tonight.
Oh, no. I couldn't put you to the trouble.
Charlie McMahon.
Yeah, that would be nice.
So Tran New isn't exactly the innocent, small-time businessman you might assume.
No?
He's the president of the East Asian Council on Business.
And what does the East Asian Council on Business do when it's at home?
It gets politicians elected, including Lin Hua and Fred Como.
Both on the Metro Police Board.
Both big Bartlett supporters.
So the man's a power broker. That hardly makes him a criminal conspirator.
Connective tissue. You ever hear of a guy named Jimmy Vo?
No.
Gunned down on Gerrard Street last year. Talk in the community is the hitter was a kid from the Bui Doi.
Bui Doi?
A Vietnamese gang. His name is Henry New, Tran's nephew.
Handy thing, having a hitman in the family.
Especially if you're going to kill a cop.
Where'd you get this?
A detective in 41 Division. Andy Wong.
好啦，歐域老友，今晚再傾啦。So, where was I?
The ACFIU?
Right, the Asian Combined Forces Investigative Unit. In 1990, every villain in Hong Kong was buying citizenship and moving to Canada. Turf wars broke out in all 3 Chinatowns. Bartlett was deputy chief. He started the unit and got Gordy appointed head. I was a natural choice for second in command, eh? The only detective they had that spoke Chinese.
Right.
A big job. You got the triads, you got the big circle boys, the Bui Doi, you got the NN5.
Where did the big circle boys fit in?
Top of the food chain until we kicked them off their perch.
And most of your evidence came from Tran New, who has Bui Doi connections.
Sure. Always seemed he knew a lot for a simple restaurateur. But of course I got a huge weakness for conspiracy theories. I blame Confucius.
We need everything you can get on Tran.
And I want to help, but I just got my first real break and I'm on probation. Computer crime has security protocols.
That never used to bother you in records.
Down in records, nobody knew I was alive. Up here, when I type Tran New, it's going to pop up on a report. There'll be questions.
Malcolm, did you design the system?
It's the kind of security we need to implement right across the board.
So you can hack it.
Keep it down, will ya? Technically speaking, it might be possible to access the system undetected, but will McPhee protect me?
He has in the past.
'Cause if I get caught, it's back to records for eternity.
So what's your point?
Okay. Meet me tonight at your shop. I'll see what I can do.
So, what'd you get?
What can I say? The force needs me. There's electronic trash bins all over the department that haven't been emptied in years. I ran Tran New's name.
I think I'm going to like this.
And?
Tran New arrived in Toronto on December 22nd, 1989, direct from a refugee camp in Thailand. Thai police...
Notoriously corrupt.
Right. They reported no criminal record for him. But I took a side trip to Bangkok. You think our IT security sucks? Tran started running gambling and police graft in his camp. He prospered. By 1977, he had established a serious relationship with the Bui Doi, who were just starting to grow.
Bui Doi is run by a guy named Danny Fan.
So, New's cousin Henry works with him?
Even better, I checked with the Department of Consumer and Commercial Relations. Danny owns a piece of Saigon Pho, Tran's restaurant.
Jolene Gray. Cliff, how are you? You heard what?
Cliff?
Yeah? Charlie was involved?
Oh, no.
Cliff?
Cliff Stark.
As in Cliff Stark, head of the police union and pain in the butt first class.
No, I can't say. Well, sure, if you like. Joe's? At 8, fine.
What's he want?
He wants to talk to us about the chief's old partner, Gordy Newman.
Bonehead Bartlett is putting 25 guys who were at Gordy's retirement bash up on discipline charges. But it's going to take more than that to wipe the egg off his face.
So what's your problem?
Word around the courts is something smells in the Newman case, and the chief is involved. I figure you know what's really happening.
Nothing.
If it was nothing, you wouldn't have hustled your butt over here to deny it.
Terry Klein has come up with some bull implicating the chief in the murder. McPhee wants the speculation shut down before it hurts the department's rep.
You mean the chief's career, don't you?
Any way you want it.
Thanks, Charlie. At least I know I'm not barking up the wrong tree. This is going to get very interesting.
Mr. New? Charlie McMahon. I met you a while back. With Gordy?
Sorry. Gordy had a lot of friends come by.
No, that's okay.
Gordy was a good guy. I still don't believe he killed that girl.
And that makes two of us. The thing is, there may have been others involved.
You are the investigating officer then?
Well, no, not really. I'm a retired officer. It's kind of difficult to explain, but...
I'm sorry. But I don't think it's proper for me to discuss an ongoing investigation with anybody but the police.
That's where I come in.
Cliff.
Cliff Stark, Toronto Police. And you're...
Tran New. I own this restaurant.
The guys at 41 Division told me this was Gordy's clubhouse.
Gordy liked my noodles.
And your whiskey?
That too. What do you guys want?
Chief Bartlett ever come by with Gordy?
The chief? Never.
You sure?
I know the chief.
Yeah, you backed him heavily through the East Asian Council on Business.
The council backed him. I approved.
But you do know him personally.
We've met a couple of times. Why?
Charlie helps the chief out sometimes with sensitive matters, like his badge.
Look, I know nothing about badges. And as for Gordy Newman, I gave him free drinks and noodle soup out of gratitude. You want to call it bribing an officer? Go to it. In the meantime, I got a business to run.
Well, he's a sensitive chap, isn't he?
We shook him up pretty good, eh?
You shook us both up. What are you doing here, Cliff?
I could ask you the same thing. This guy is up to something, and so are you.
Maybe I am. And maybe you blundering around isn't going to help.
You're always covering the chief's ass for McPhee, but what if there actually
This has nothing to do with covering the chief's rear end. And S.I. McPhee is a good cop. McMahon.
Charlie, guess who just called the chief's office?
Tran New?
You got it.
Wonderful. I thought we agreed to only do this in person, Malcolm.
Yeah, I know, but I just couldn't resist calling you. We're on to something, eh?
Looks like it. Cliff, New called the chief.
How do you know?
Malcolm pulled down the incoming number. Malcolm?
Who are you talking to, Charlie?
Cliff Stark. He showed up at the restaurant.
Well, isn't life just a bowl of cherries?
No, life is an information highway, and it looks like Cliff's coming along for the ride.
Okay, sirrah, sirrah. See you at your place at 6.
Where in hell is he?
He said he'd be right over.
Can't wait to see what else he turned up. Guy's a wizard.
Yeah.
Stark, I should have known you'd be behind this.
Behind what?
What is Malcolm doing monitoring the chief's line?
There must be some kind of mistake. Malcolm would never do a thing
Oh,
like...
give me a break. You can't tap the chief's line without telling me about it.
How'd they catch him?
Malcolm's rants about IT security have inspired the whole department. So now he's not the only one setting up mousetraps. What's going on?
We got Bartlett this time. That's what.
I went to see Tran New, pushed his buttons.
60 seconds later, news on the phone to Bartlett. How's that for incriminating?
Oh, that's not good.
What's going to happen to Malcolm?
He's suspended. The way this is going, I can't protect him, or any of you.
Hold on, McPhee. If you think you can threaten my membership...
You're not immune either, Stark. Union head or no, running an unauthorized investigation can still get you fired.
Don't try to bully me. I'll
You're
give you...
breaking the law! Odds are Malcolm is headed back to Record for the rest of his career. Satisfied, Charlie?
Of course not, but New...
Called the chief to tell him he was being harassed. The whole thing is suddenly very political. Aldermen, friends of Mr. New, are on the phone. MPs are huffing in the wings. Thanks a lot. Good night!
It's my own damn fault. I got cocky and they got me.
So now what?
How about we just let Kirk do his job?
You know what he'll do. Nothing.
I think Cliff's right. If we really believe the chief is involved in these killings...
Is that what we really believe? Because I'm still having trouble with the concept.
Fine. Then finish the job. Clear him. Again.
Charlie, we can't stop now. If we stop, Malcolm's finished.
If Tran's guilty, then Terry Klein's innocent. And his alibi sucks.
How come?
He claimed he's at work at the time of the murder, but the time clocks weren't punched.
Smooth move, McMahon. How'd you figure it out?
Me? I had nothing to do with it.
Really? I mean, I just figured... Clocks. You being the expert, you must have checked the evidence, right?
No. I never did.
Well, you went into the evidence lockers. I got guys out there hate the chief. They'd be more than willing to help.
Good. Don't you two do anything stupid until you hear from me.
I'll tell you one thing for sure. No way I'm going back to Records.
We've established links between Tran New and the chief, but they're all legitimate. We need more connective tissue.
Normally this is when I start hacking, but given my suspension...
Let's find Andy Wong.
Maybe we invented the noodle, but these guys... Perfeczione. Besides, now that I work in Little Italy is where I eat for free. Malcolm, try the antipasto.
You eat for free?
These are honest businessmen, grateful for the protection of an honest constabulary. I try to pay. It does no good.
Right.
Lighten up, Constable. You know, I always wonder why New got tight with Gordy. To get closer to Bartlett? New must have loved seeing Big Circle take a hit.
So New owes Bartlett, throws him his political clout. That works.
Yeah, in theory. But that's less corrupt than Andy eating a free meal.
Hey, until I help one of these guys break the law, all I'm doing is eating pasta.
Hey, what we need is cash crossing palms, right?
No way. New and Bartlett are careful men.
Then what?
Knowing Gordy, he left a will. If he and Bartlett were working together, maybe there's something in the estate. A nest egg?
That's something I can check without the department mainframe.
Sure, but first you gotta try the Carpaccio Milano. Mario, porto un carpaccio con I funghi porcini ai miei amici. Accanto mio.
So, we doi. What does it mean in Vietnamese?
In Vietnamese, life like dust.
What are you looking for, Charlie?
The watch clocks at Terry's car pound are real antiques. These cards fit inside, see? A notched card and a geared mechanism that moves the card forward. Now the watchman has to put a key into the clock and turn it. When he does that, a punch puts a hole in the card recording the time.
So the punch records when the watchman used his key.
Primitive, but it does the job. These cards were removed from Terry's clocks the day after the bombing.
No times are punched in.
Yeah, but as the card is pulled through the clock mechanism, the notches usually end up torn or frayed. In this case?
The notches on these cards? They're pristine.
Which means?
They never went through the clock. Somebody switched them.
I got a copy of Gordy's will. $100,000 is going to the chief.
Where would Gordy get that kind of money?
With a little help from the estate, we've been able to figure that out. Dividends from a Hong Kong holding company. Gordy held shares.
It's all above board.
Must be. New owns the company.
Money's been going out of Gordy's account for more than a year. Big payments to an advertising firm and Decca Research.
We talked to them. Seems like they're planning a political campaign. For Bartlett.
Kirk, did you know the chief has been building a war chest?
Yeah, for a run at the Mayoralty.
You knew about it?
Sure, and I supported it, too. How else am I ever going to get to be chief?
And Gordy was his bagman?
That's news to me, but look, Bartlett's the chief of police. Politicizing that position is unacceptable.
But if he hoped to make a credible run after retirement...
It just made sense to make sure nobody traced the funds.
Yeah, especially since they came from Tran New and Buidori.
Great view, great desk, great chairs.
Yeah, nothing but the best for Bartlett.
I don't care. I don't like it.
I know, sir, but given the situation, I felt it was the best course of action.
Okay, Stark, what is it this time?
Gordy Newman's will.
He's giving you $100,000.
How dare you shove your grubby little noses into my private financial affairs?
Wills are a matter of public record.
Yes, well, I just want you to know that nobody could have been more surprised by his bequest than me. I mean, where the hell would Gordy get that kind of money?
Tran New is a principal in the company generating the capital.
Well, what's that got to do with me?
They know about the campaign, sir.
All right. So I've been contemplating a move into civic politics. That's not illegal. And there's only so much a law enforcement officer can do. And given my relative popularity,
That's before people find out you're on Tran New's payroll.
Mr. New made donations. He is a respected member of the Asian community, and he's involved in politics, period. I'd be very careful about making any unsubstantiated charges.
Chief, no matter how you play it, the media is still going to make a meal out of this.
Yeah, well, I've had mud slung at me before.
This time it's going to stick.
Is it? Is it? And what will I be charged with?
Conspiracy in the murders of Penny Klein and Gordon Newman.
Oh, that badge nonsense isn't going to be taken seriously.
Want to bet?
We have a solid case against Terry Klein. Gordy killed his wife, so he killed Gordy.
That's not how Klein's going to tell it in court.
So what? He also claims that he was at work all night. But the watch clock at the car pound proves he's lying.
Actually, the evidence will show the clocks were tampered with.
What?
By the time we're done, all that's going to be left of the Crown's case is your word that Gordy confessed.
And a whole lot of ugly links between him, you, and a Vietnamese mob.
Kirk, there's got to be a way to build a firewall between this case and me. You've done it before, do it again.
Sorry, Chief, not this time. It's gone too far.
The badge. Gordy tried to protect me when I could have protected myself. As if I cared about that one badge. But Gordy cared.
Enough to bring in New?
Yeah.
When'd you learn about links between New and organized crime?
He was an influential local businessman that Gordy got out of a mess. That's all I knew.
So, he became a political ally?
That's right. And it was years before I started hearing any rumors of relatives on the wrong side of the law or business arrangements with questionable partners. I put it down to immigrant growing pains. The truth is, I didn't look too hard.
Why would you? New was your biggest supporter.
Was it his idea to put the money offshore?
That's right. Pretty smooth setup. Till the badge incident and that stripper...
Penny Klein.
Yeah. She was threatening to call the papers, break the story. And after all the trouble I'd had this year, and with Stark out for blood...
When Penny Klein told Gordy the badge was missing, he went to New. And New went to her.
Kirk called, told me Penny had been killed. I wasn't too worried until you laid the killing on Gordy. I panicked, called New. He told me he was working on it.
So you okayed the hit?
No. Gordy was my friend. He left the restaurant, got in his car.
Did you think New did it?
Oh, maybe. But before I could decide, you'd busted Terry Klein, and that made sense too.
So you didn't look any farther?
What good would it do?
It didn't bug you, letting your partner take the blame for Penny Klein's murder?
All I wanted to do was extricate myself from any involvement with New and get on with my career. I'm good at my job. You all know that.
No. You let a killer walk to cover your ass. And you know that makes you garbage.
Kirk.
Sorry, Jim. You're going to be charged.
Cliff, come on, I've made mistakes. But I've tried. Give me that much.
What have you ever given me, Bartlett? Contempt. Back at you.
Fine. If I could have a few moments to write a letter of resignation.
Sure, Jim.
Thank you.
Let's get out of here. Give the chief his space.
Feels good.
Does it?
Well, what's your problem, McPhee? As the arresting officer, you're going to come out of this a hero, perfectly placed to succeed the chief, especially with the wholehearted support of the union.
At least Malcolm will get his job back.
Whoopee.
Yeah, we all win. How come I got a bad taste in my mouth?
Because we win, but the force loses.
Oh, God, no.
Oh, Jim, no. No!
Somebody call an ambulance.
No, it's no use. Call the morgue. And Kirk?
Yeah, Charlie.
You'll have to call his wife.
You have been listening to Life Like Dust. This final episode of our series, The Old Guy by Paul LeDoux. Featured in the cast tonight, Robert Haley as Charlie McMahon, William Colgate as Kirk, Ryan Rogerson as Malcolm, Karen Glave as Jolene, Arlene Duncan as Betty Parker, and Hardy T. Lynham as Cliff Stark. With them, you also heard Chuck Shimada as Chief Bartlett, D. Garnet Harding as Terry Klein, Ho Oyster Chow as Tran Nu, and William Johnson as Andy Wong. The music was composed and conducted by Milan Kymlick. The recording engineer was Wayne Richards. Sound effects were by Matt Wilcott. Colleen Woods was the associate producer. The program was produced and directed in Toronto by Bill Howell, the executive producer of The Mystery Project. I'm Bob Boving, thanking you for listening and inviting your comments. See you next week.